Hey gang, it's Yergz. Today, we're doing something new. This episode is going to be the start of season 3. Originally, Jane and I were going to keep our episodes consistent with the Be Inspired podcast, which changes each season annually in January or February. However, today's episode starts a new venture for us. It's live. You can join us every Monday, sometime around 11, 11:30, 11:45, 12, depending on our schedules, when we cut into my 11 a.m. show, Up the Middle. As a segment of Up the Middle, we will be recording Both Sides Now. Here's our very first live episode of Both Sides Now. Enjoy. So I'm actually playing today's show in my living room. It looks good on a big TV. I don't mind saying. So up next, I don't know what we're going to talk about. She's often, when we get together, she's kind of produced. I mean, yeah, she produces a lot of our episodes. And then sometimes she gives it over to me. And of course, we talk politics. I don't know what we're going to do. So we're going to find out. Let's bring her on for the first time live on Yergz Radio and wherever else. Both Sides Now. Where's the switch? There it is. There we go. Welcome, Jane Stahl.
Oh my
Hello
God.
there.
Hello. It's been 2 weeks since you and I conversed. Last week, as I remember,
Yeah.
you were anticipating a pretty heavy duty hurricane. So
Yes.
we didn't have a
End the
chance to
show.
chat, but I don't know if your mom told you, but I checked in with her to make sure you were safe and, doing your thing at some point, a day or so later after you and I had our last chat. So you've been in my mind.
Did I
How did
message you
things go?
sometime during the week too?
Pardon
Did I
me?
message you sometimes during the week too?
If you did, I may have missed it or forgotten. My
Okay.
memory these days, we have what my husband calls CRS, can't remember stuff.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
Anyway, here we are. So much has happened in the past couple of weeks. It's really, really
Yeah.
exciting. And while I know sometimes we don't always get into politics right away, it seems to me that we have to this week. How are you
Oh
feeling
yeah.
these days? My friends
Well,
are feeling revived and a little bit rejuvenated. Excuse my fumbling.
yeah.
Anyway, how are you?
Mm, Same. Um, I mean, I was still behind Joe Biden, and I thought about this, and I'll definitely take your opinion as well.
I'd love to get
Up the Middle has been apolitical in that I haven't endorsed any candidates
it.
because I want my opinion, my analysis to be fair. Like one particular network used to say, fair and balanced.
Right.
Um,
And what
I've
network
never
was
been,
that?
I don't know, one of the good ones,
One
we're
of the good
told.
ones? Okay.
Yeah, they keep telling us how good they are,
Okay.
but I've never made it a secret that I was not a fan of Trump. And I realized it wasn't Trump that I was not a fan of, but
Oh,
actually the authoritarian. Um, I still feel fascist.
oh, yeah.
There's some people like David Beckmeyer say, hey, slow down using that word. No, he is fascism.
Mhm,
You
mhm.
know, it's
And his
actually
allies, it's not
exactly.
it's just not. I mean, he is a figurehead. He barely knows what I'm sorry, I'm not apolitical, and
No,
I
no,
am endorsing, excuse me,
yeah,
anti-endorsing Donald Trump, but, I mean, the man barely knows what he's doing, barely knows what he's
he
saying. I mean,
doesn't.
if you listen to him, oh my god. But his allies, the people he has surrounding him, who are propping him up and giving him kind of many ideas to talk about when he can actually put a sentence together. Those are scary people. Did you see Stephen Miller, for example, this past, weekend on, what's his name? Ari Melba. Anyway,
I
it
heard something about that.
the allies, but more than that, Ross, it's all the millions of people who continue to support him, no matter what he says and no matter what he does. That's the scary part that George Conway mentioned this morning on Morning Joe.
Yeah.
So it's not just Donald, it's that whole movement. And as you called it, it's an authoritarian fascist movement. No doubt about it. But what do you think about the nominee for vice president in the Democratic Party? I'm in love.
Yeah, I'm warming up to him, but to finish
He's
your other thought,
okay.
in that when I realized it was more opposing the authoritarianism as a whole,
Mhm,
and more people than just Donald Trump as a result. Ron
mhm,
DeSantis, Vivek Ramaswamy,
mhm.
and just I forget who it is, but the one who still
Marco
hasn't made it.
Rubio.
Not as much him, because he's at least in a structure, being in the Senate, where he needs other psychos like him to get behind. There's at least some potential for resistance and for the equality that and equilibrium that I like to see, the balance that I like to see in government.
Mhm.
But Ramaswamy, um, was brain fried there. I think there might have been. Oh, um, is it Carrie Lake? Who is the one I think in
Oh, yeah,
Arizona
yeah, 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 yeah.
who
Yep,
is still trying to
nuts.
stop the steal
Yep,
after
yep.
even her side has admitted there was no steal in the first place?
I mean, come on, people. Where is your brain?
Yeah,
I'm not hesitant any longer. No.
yeah.
Anyway, I
That's my
I'm
dilemma.
what was
I've
that?
got family, I've got friends
Yep.
who are still pro Trump.
Yes. Yeah.
And David Beckmeyer, God love him, he was right. It's not the stupid people
Yeah. Right.
that we have to worry about talking some sense into. It's the ones that are doubled down because of their education,
Mhm.
because they're so smart that they can't be wrong once in their life.
Mhm. It's pretty frightening. It's pretty
And
frightening.
yeah, I don't know how to move forward, because I've got next door neighbors flying Trump flags.
Mhm. Oh,
And
that's
that
hard.
particular, yeah, I love that couple. They're good people. And I'm just going, they're not as educated. So I can see why they just
Fall into.
go
Yeah.
along, because they're conservative, that they're staying along party lines.
Mhm.
And that's
Mhm.
one of the things I said in Up the Middle back when it was just a podcast, before it also got to radio. You can be a Republican, you can be a conservative and not be an asshole.
Mhm. Well, what concerns me, I mean, there's a lot of, well, lots of things concern me, but, I'm more worried today about all the people who will not certify the election if even if the popular vote and the, electoral college, all that, that's the concern. And to me, it's why Donald Trump is at Mar-a-Lago. He doesn't care about the popular vote because he knows he's got these other systems in place that are going to put him in place even if he doesn't win the election. That concerns me.
Yeah. Or I don't think he wants to be president in the first place.
Well,
And I've said
no.
that before.
Right.
Um,
Right. I agree with that. Yeah. You know. So that leaves us, what's his name? JD Vance.
who is another hypocrite
And
because
I heard this morning something about him complaining that Kamala, is a chameleon. And I thought, wow, talk about the pot calling the kettle black,
yeah,
you know?
yeah,
Anyway, but can we talk
100%.
just a few minutes about the happy thing? I mean, I
Yeah,
love I love Tim Walz. I mean, obviously a former teacher. I mean, hello, and
yeah,
coach, which I think you probably can get behind. And,
yeah,
you know, all the other things about him, but he surfaced for me, uh, obviously, just recently when I realized that the Democratic Party was going into this whole thing about they're so weird. The word weird
yeah,
that got injected into the campaign. I said to Paul a week or so ago, whoever came up with that is brilliant. I mean, that's the way to say it. It's just weird. And then to come to understand that it was Tim Walz who brought that word into the campaign, I thought, there you go. That's awesome. Anyway, I love some of his lines,
yeah.
about yes, you can have different opinions, but we go by the golden rule here. Mind your own darn business, that kind of thing. I
Right,
love that line.
right,
That was great. That was great. And there are a number of others, but it's the joy that people are talking about in this campaign, the lightness, the humor, but the joy of life, the positive things about this wonderful country, that they are focusing on that I think is a really winning strategy. And I hope they keep it up. So that's my opinion
that's
today politically. I've got nothing else.
that's okay. Um, so I gave you this option last night, kind of, not a lot of heads up or but I like that, once a week it transitions to this. So I think we can easily keep up, and you are camera ready, plenty, and
Well,
you're on the radio.
I like to look nice for you, even
Oh,
if
you're gonna make me blush.
no, even when we were in audio, I thought, "Oh, I should get out of my pajamas, even though it's just audio." But let's
Even
talk
though I
about that for a
didn't,
minute. Pardon me?
even though I didn't get out of my pajamas.
I don't know about you, but I just decided I should get out of my pajamas just in case. Just in case things turn to video. But, as and have promoted for me, I do my own podcast, Be Inspired, but
Right.
it's totally audio. So I want to talk about that for a minute. Not be
Go.
inspired necessarily, but why when you and I first started this conversation, I said just audio, no video. I hate looking at myself, and I still do.
Yeah.
But what fascinates me or what makes me hesitate, there you go, into going into video, aside from the fact that I don't like looking at myself, um, when I watch people on TV, I'm looking at what they're wearing, what their makeup's like, what's behind them, what books they're reading. I really try to zoom in on their bookshelves to see what they're reading. And I love when an author, of course, has his books prominently displayed beside him or behind him. It's just, I find that amusing. And so the point is that I am focusing on things I shouldn't be focusing on. I'm focusing on what they look like, and all
Right.
that instead of listening to them. And so I decided 4.5 years ago that my podcast, Be Inspired, would be only audio so that people could listen to me. They wouldn't have to feel like they needed to watch me. They could listen to me while they were weeding their garden or doing the dishes or driving in their car and hopefully focus on the conversation that I
Right.
had with my guests. So there's that. There's that. So anyway, here we are video and well, what can I say? Here we are video.
Well, yeah. So
Maybe you see the
Chewy's
Chewy
in.
box behind me, for those of you.
Yeah, I can see that, and you don't. Your camera is a mirror to you, meaning that you're right now. It looks to me like you're leaning on your right hand on your cheek,
Uh,
but that's
left,
actually your left hand, isn't it?
left. Yes, it is.
Yeah, because Chewy on the
Yes,
box behind you
there's
is
Chewy on the box
backwards.
behind me. Yes, so there's a
It's
promo
backwards,
for Chewy. But,
but the
yeah,
word
so here we
Chewy
are. Yes, the word Chewy. Anyway,
is
s
backwards.
is yes, it is. Yes, it
So that's
is.
how I know your camera's mirrored.
There you go. Yep. Yep, there you go. Anyway, so I don't know what else you want to talk about today, and we did not discuss it beforehand, but I, of course, have my topics card ready for you just to get us started in something maybe, yeah, personal, interesting, something that's
Yeah.
not politics. So I've got two questions on this card today.
Okay.
And the first one, the easier one, how is this? What is your most important goal right now? Oh,
Personal or professional?
oh, go. Let's do A. Let's do personal first.
Personal, I want to actually finish the legalities of my adoption with Zach
Okay.
because I believe that will also get him on my insurance, which will get him better insurance than what the crappy state of Florida gives him
Okay.
because we're both sick. I would love to get us both to an urgent care or somewhere where we can get decent antibiotics if in fact that's what's going to get rid of unless we got COVID, at which point ride it out and hope it doesn't kill you. Professionally, I would very much love to land a commercial job with radio with this format. I'm not playing music. You know, Spotify does that. Apple Music does that.
Okay.
I have a unique perspective. We were talking about this on Friday's episode that when you and I first talked about Up the Middle,
Mhm.
and you asked about the whole development of an audience, and when do you think this is going to take off? I said definitely within the next year for obvious reasons,
Well, we're
but
a year
not right
in. How
away.
are you? Uh-huh.
Almost a year in, and I think it is taking off. Um, all of the different internet stations that have recently picked us up in the past week did so kind of immediately. One, when they heard the other stations were um, picking us up, as well as we're 5 days a week. The only station that was supposed to go 5 days a week with us last week was 99.1 WDJY in Atlanta. But there's now a progressive talk station in Atlanta that picked us up also,
Cool.
and and we're also on in the UG, as in underground, the
Okay.
UG dot media. That's a station in London
Whoa.
that's picked us up all 5 days a week.
So you're now international?
Well, I mean, technically, with internet radio, you're already international with one
Oh, right.
station.
Of course. Yeah. Yeah.
But
Of course.
yes, as far as where each of these stations are, the America One Radio focuses in the Atlanta area, and we will be too. Eventually, we'll be picking up some news items to report on in conjunction with their channel.
Well, when you say you want to be picked up as I don't know what that means. Does that mean that you would be employed by another radio station as opposed to
Correct.
doing your own thing like that, like you're doing right now?
it would be this just for a longer period of time each day.
Okay.
Um,
And rather
it
than
would
being
be
sponsored by your particular advertisers, you would be picking up or you would be part of another station's advertising and promotion campaign. Is that right?
it would
Is
be a
that how that works?
combination.
Okay. Oh,
It would be a
okay.
combination,
Okay. Very good. Very
especially
good.
because some of the ones we're talking to, like the people who are going to be our phone system in another month, they have clients over the country,
Mhm.
so they can advertise with us all over the country and even possibly all over the world.
Mhm.
I don't know if they can do international clients or not. But then I'm also trying to bring in smaller, needy stations.
Okay.
Because I think one of the reasons why 1490 is interested in expanding and 99.1 has expanded is because they need programming like us. These are stations that sell their airtime to people like us.
Mhm.
And let's not, let's be clear. I bought the time that we're all on. You too. You're on Sundays. Quick
Mhm.
plug to Be Inspired Sundays at 5.
Yay, thank you.
And I forget. I don't remember who you had on yesterday, but I put that together and send it to them through this one particular platform that we use to file share and
Right.
pass
Right.
messages back and forth and whatever.
Right. Right.
Um,
Right. Right.
but I, as a producer, I've bought all that space
Mhm.
for a bigger station, like a corporate station. They pay us, but then that also gives them a little bit more weight.
Mhm.
So if I were to be picked up by,
Let's say,
oh, there's a puppy at my feet.
yay for puppies. We love puppies. We love puppies. So
And they
you're
get
per so
really
you're so you're working your personal goal, you're working your professional goal.
yes.
So, good. Well, let's see. The second question on our
What about
topic.
you?
What about me?
What about you?
Personal goal? Personal goals. Okay, so I hadn't thought about that. My personal goal is also my professional goal because professionally, as a teacher, I'm retired and I do
Yeah,
some hobby-like activities like be a host on my own podcast, Be Inspired.
right.
And
So have
with
you
you,
decided anything with that?
what was that? Have I
Y-
decided?
yeah.
Yeah, well, just to fill in your audience, yeah,
Oh,
I on Spotify, let me record, let me publish on Spotify, and then Spotify changed stuff, and it wants me to record somewhere else, but they will. Yeah, I'm busy. I'm busy, and I want to maybe 4.5 years and over 200 conversations with local artists, writers, and community members. Maybe that's enough. Maybe I should just quit and not try to learn a new platform. That's the history behind your question. But what's happened is that so I was thinking about retiring from Be Inspired, but what's happened is people have started to come to me and say, "Hey, would you be interested in doing a Be Inspired podcast with such and so?" Or I met up with this person and they're wonderful, and I think you should do a Be Inspired conversation with them. And so I am currently in being encouraged to continue Be Inspired. And in fact, I have a couple of new episodes that I have recorded in the past month or so. I'm having a little difficulty with the technology. I managed to get my programs published. I record them on another podcast platform and then publish them on Spotify. And I'm having a little bit of trouble learning how to do it easily. So it's kind of a struggle, but yeah, I guess I've decided to continue at least for now. So yeah,
Is this Riverside?
yes,
Okay.
yes, yes,
Yeah,
and
I still have the free account there.
their buttons are, their buttons are a little unfamiliar to me, and I am so non-tech savvy that it's
Yeah.
really a challenge for me. Plus, they're gonna charge me money to do what I've been doing for free on Spotify, so I'll find a sponsor or something, or hopefully find a sponsor who wants me to continue and pay my monthly bill through Riverside. I mean, that's it. But that, and of course, professionally, I hope to keep, Studio B up and
Yeah.
running and encourage artists to continue to exhibit with us, and adults and children to continue taking lessons. And I am currently looking to develop an audience for some art related programs that Barbara Post, one of our artists from Reading, would like to deliver at Studio B. But finding an audience, developing an audience, as you know, takes a lot of work. And I'm
Oh, yeah.
working in a variety of different other aspects. Plus, probably most of my time these days is spent with a digital news site that I edit with a former teaching colleague, the Boyertown Area Expression, and I really have a good time with that, you know?
I am
Um
working on my, as promised, quite late though it may be, my, I am proud
Oh,
contribution.
good, good. You have a lot to say. Let me just say, it's going to be a
Yeah.
rather longish article, I would imagine. There are so many. In
Yeah,
fact,
this
I
might
have
be a
to
little
admit,
bit more
before I
punctual.
forget again, this is the second time my brain is taking me here. So let me not forget. Yesterday, you were part of my conversation. We
Oh,
held a
yeah?
little, yeah, we had a little bit of a birthday party for one of our 86-year-old friends. And
Right.
one person, Suzanne Bisecker, I think she's a relative of
Yeah.
yours somewhere. Anyway, she was part
My
of this
mom's mom.
party. Yeah, she was part of this party, and your name came up because people wanted to know, or she wanted to know. She said, "Are you and Ross still doing both sides now?" I said, "Yes." And she said, "Well, has he talked a little bit about, the Secret Service, what do you say, failure? Let's say it.
Yeah.
Secret Service failure a month or so ago with the attempted assassination of our favorite person." Anyway, so your name came up, and she's going to go back and find us again. So should you ever
Nice.
want to do on Up the Middle or Both Sides Now, another segment on your feelings relative to that. But as I told her, you have to be judicious. I mean, it's like me talking about teachers and teaching and education. I don't want to stress the negative because so much positive happens. And if
Right.
we have a failure now and then, hey, hello, the world isn't perfect. And so anyway, your name came up yesterday during our little
Good.
party. So,
That's a
but
good family.
okay, so personal and professional goals are pretty much, well, those are my professional goals. Personally, I am surviving surviving my surviving my this particular decade of my life, and
Oh,
the the aches and pains that come with it, the constant desire for me to get my affairs in order just in case things happen, to clean out my
oh,
house, to I'm such a hoarder, and because you never know when you're going to need a particular thing, so I don't get rid of it anyway. But
ha hang on one second.
oh
Matrix
no,
has to go outside. I'll be right back.
oh, do you want me to talk while you're gone?
Tell everybody about your, gardening, weeding, and, sitting by the pool.
Okay. So, folks, this is the time of year, pardon me, This is the time of year when I like to spend as much time as possible in my not in my backyard so much, on my deck, in my pool, that kind of thing. And I try to get into the pool, and some people find this interesting, so I'll share it with you. I try to get into the pool to do some really relaxed kind of laps. I mean, I'm not doing freestyle like, swimmers do. I'm not doing backstroke or back, just, to get the joints all loosened up and whatnot. But I try to do a dozen or more laps. And those particular laps, to help my aging memory, I dedicate to different people. Um, for example, I dedicate lap number 3 to my mother and my daughter because, well, because. And lap number 4 is dedicated to my son. And lap number 7 is dedicated to my niece. And number 8 is dedicated to my brother. It helps me remember. So I think about them during that particular lap. It's like, I guess it's like saying a prayer that people do at the end of the day when they think of people that they love. Okay, you're back. Welcome back.
Do they? Thank you. Do they owe you fundraising money for each lap that you swim?
No, I'm not, but that's a good idea.
That could be your sponsor.
Yeah, money has not my favorite topic. So
Yeah,
I hope to hang on with whatever, teaching pension and Social Security provides me and some stipend from Studio B. So, you know, I just, money's not my favorite subject. Okay, so those are my personal and professional goals as much as plus, oh, yes, plus, you know, um, my son, JD, published 4 books recently, and they came in the mail the other day. It's over 2,000 pages, over
wow,
4 years that he has published, and I was shocked, and so, I wanna help him, get promoted just a little bit. That's kind of a personal goal. And of course, with
absolutely.
Amy, I'm there for her to do whatever it is she needs to have done. And she has so many people that she cares about and wants to support. So I like to be there behind her, helping her support the people that she wants to support.
I wish she was
Those
a
are
little
my
bit more
issues.
tech savvy.
In what sense, Ross?
Well,
In
she could like manage both of our social media
Oh, yes.
and just do some things like that, like behind the scenes type stuff that could
I tell you what,
just
you wanna have a conversation with her. She might be able to do baby steps and maybe,
yeah.
putting us on Facebook. I think she's comfortable with that platform, and
Because I know she
perhaps
doesn't have like a computer and she has a flip phone as a phone
right,
and
she's pretty savvy on her iPad. And
okay,
if she needs to have a computer to do whatever you need for her to do, we'll see that she has one, okay? So
okay.
talk to her personally about that. She's pretty clever. I wish that she would be a guest on your Up the Middle show from time to time. And she's a little bit too shy and hesitant to do that, but she would bring a spark to your conversation. No doubt about it. And she listens to our both sides now, so I know she's listening
Yeah,
to us.
yeah.
Have a
So
conversation with her. That might help.
I
Okay?
know that, she is she does appear to be a little more political than Jeff is,
Absolutely.
with
Jeff
her
is
own Facebook
rejecting
stuff and
all
stuff.
political things right
Yeah,
now. He just
yeah,
finds it so corrupt that he can't stand it. Everybody's
yeah,
lying,
yeah,
and it just offends him so much that he's not willing to put his energy behind that. He has other things to do. He's into enlightening the world through his various efforts. Yeah.
yeah, he's
So
no
anyway,
dummy.
no. Oh, I mean, I can't
He's
keep up with him.
definitely
Yeah, I can't keep
yeah,
up. The chemistry and physics that are part of, not to mention the poetry, not to mention the music, not to mention the religious texts, the Bhagavad Gita, the Egyptian Book of the Dead, not to mention the Christian Bible, all that in his work. I mean, where did he get that? He spent a lot of time in extensive research, in all these kinds of things, to put the ideas together, to amalgam, to make them connected. It's amazing. But his work is not for everybody. We talked about that last time. I think his
Right.
work is not for everybody, because for some people it would be too woo woo. For other people it would just be too tough.
Yeah.
And so anyway, so anyway, the second question.
Just off.
Are you ready for the second question? Okay,
Yep.
here it is.
Good.
Here it is. I mean, this is a weird one. So, okay. What what's an unusual way that you've made money in your life? Unusual
All of them.
way.
I mean, really, the closest things I've had to real jobs,
Mhm.
I worked for my dad in the summer when I was really umpiring Legion and men's baseball with the aspirations of going, which I did, to umpire school. And then, and then to the minor leagues. Um, and then after I got out of baseball, I started becoming whatever it was, a certain age where I couldn't be on mom and dad's
Mhm.
insurance anymore.
Mhm.
So I had to get something to add to my own insurance. And I had a job at the Redner's grocery store in Red Hill, Pennsburg. And I got that because the manager there was one of the parents
Oh,
on
okay.
Major League Football.
Okay.
So that, I mean, I still interviewed. I still almost didn't get the job
Mhm.
because of the whole overqualified thing.
Mhm.
And I hated that. That was my first experience in scheduled night
Mm.
shifts. It was,
Mhm.
yeah, I went in at 10 o'clock
Ugh.
every night.
My father worked 11 to 7 at Firestone
Yeah.
forever.
Yeah.
Over 30 years, maybe closing in on 40, I can't remember anymore. I mean, God love him.
Yep.
I just couldn't do that. Yep. Yep, yep, but scheduled work is, and, that's hard for me, I'll tell you. As a baby boomer, I just assumed, everybody would grow up, get a real job, have a scheduled, thing, and get health insurance and all that kind of thing through their work. Come to find out, since I've retired, I've met so many more people who, I suppose to call it a gig economy, who go from one thing to another to get a little, stipend here, go add this to get another little to make themselves a living through that. I'm just amazed. And I've also become more aware of people who just don't want, like my father, my mother, myself, who just don't want to be on anybody else's schedule. They wanna do it themselves when they want to do it, and that doesn't mean in most cases, they're doing less hour-wise. Often, they're working 24/7 like you all the time, whereas if you had a scheduled job, you'd be working 8 hours a day as opposed to. It just
Right.
surprises me. I just was not and am not prepared for that at all, and it's really tough for me, for example, with JD to realize that it's not something he can do or wants to do, I should say, anymore. It's like, "Figure it out some other way. I'll figure it out some other way, mom, but I can't do that anymore." And, that's
Right.
hard for me. That's really hard for me to support that kind of thing because it's so out of my league. So, yeah. For me,
Yeah.
probably the most unusual, aside from, what I'm doing now with Studio B and earning a stipend through my grant writing and through my, through the efforts that I do to make the studio run. When I first started work, I worked for Madara's Fashion Center in Stowe. It's a clothing store that everybody knew back in the day. It was the place to go for let's say, um, clothing that was above and beyond what you could buy at Ames or Grant's or somewhere.
What
Okay.
was the place at over by the old Borough Hall in Boyertown?
The
I think a
old
bathing
borough.
suit,
What was that?
a bathing suit place.
I'm not aware. Anyway, this particular place, Fashion Center, that I worked in was in Stowe. And, oh, and I thought of another one. Anyway, so part of my work there was now and again to participate in promotional activities. They would do a supplement through the Pottstown Mercury, and they'd have a
Okay.
photographer come in and take photographs of us who worked there or for other models, teenagers or whatever. They would take photographs of us in the clothing that they were selling. And not that I got paid necessarily for those particular sessions, although one time I won a contest and ended up with a bit of a stipend, prize money from I was Miss Thermojack.
Okay.
Yes.
But,
So that was kind of fun. But the other unusual way, and this I know I'm pretty sure I talked about on your show, on our show, when I sold World Books after I was done with my college and looking for a teaching job. Before I got a teaching job in Colorado, I sold World Books door to door in and around the metropolitan Denver, Colorado area. And they taught me that if I presented World Book encyclopedias to 100 families, they would pay me a certain amount of money. And they promised me, or they told me that because they knew the statistics, if I saw 100 people, I would earn more than what they promised to pay me, which was more than I could earn at a scheduled job anywhere else. So I would park my car somewhere in a neighborhood and look for station wagons and swing sets and knock on the door and say, "Hi, I am a teacher from Adams County number 12 in North Glen. Can I talk to you a little bit about education?" And that's how I got in the door. And so they taught me they said that if I believed in my product, that I would sell more World Book encyclopedias than and earn commission as a result of that. And they were right. They were right. It was a lot of fun, but that particular part of my career came into play when I was teaching my students who were helping me find sponsors for the Bear Fever Project, because we made cold calls throughout Boyertown, went into businesses and said, "Hey, we're doing a project called Bear Fever, and we'd like to know if you'd be interested in being a sponsor of a Bear Fever bear." And I remember the first day that my little team and I were doing cold calls on the street, and I went in probably to State Farm to do my first presentation. And then when we were done with that, I said, "Okay, kids, now it's your turn. I did one. I showed you perhaps how you can do something like this. Now it's your turn." And one of the kids at the time said to me, "But Mrs. Stahl, what if they say no?" I said, "They're going to say no." But just like my World Book people said to me, if you see 10 people, one person will buy a set of World Books. If you see another 10 people, another person will buy a set of World Books. And by the time you've seen 100 people, you will you will reach your goal. And of course, that's what we did then. And the kids took turns making presentations to different people and different businesses during that summer. And by by fall, when we went back to school again, we had enough bears to call it a real project. It was really cool. We also spent a whole lot of time, passing the phone around either in my living room or out in the middle of the swimming pool, trying to get sponsors to listen to our proposal. It was a lot of fun. So that, not that I earned necessarily money for myself, but for the project, that was kind of an unusual way. Well, for the World Book, I earned money for myself, but for the Bear Fever project, I earned it for the project. So anyway, that's some unusual ways I've made or generated income for somebody over the past however many decades I've been trying to do that. So there, you are on mute. So you want to talk to me?
Oh, sorry. Yep, there we
That's
go.
okay. No
I was
problem.
doing some other administrative things while,
While I was talking, yeah, I get it.
yeah. And welcome to radio.
I was talking to
It's
your
time
audience.
to actually help one of well, not one of, but my other work wife
Okay.
generate some income. She is sponsoring Mondays on Up the Middle, and
Oh,
now, of
how
course, also
nice.
both sides now.
Yeah.
And that is, let's see, bring out Marcella
Well, hi
from
there. Oh
Psycho
my
and the
God, it's
Psychic
good to see
fame.
you again.
Hi guys. Do I look like I just woke up? My hair is always
Oh.
messy.
I like
Well,
wearing these headphones because then my hair doesn't matter.
I can't stand anything on my ears. So
Ah,
Monday is also, in addition to both sides now, part of Up the Middle. Monday is also going to be Mirror Mirror Mondays, like Mirror Mirror on the Wall. We're
gotcha.
going to promote Marcella's psychic abilities and, as such, her services and where people can reach out to her and so on. And so I don't know. She decides like what readings happen or what she wants to talk about today or whatever. But it is
oh,
her
shoot
time
me
to
the
join
link
us.
for the YouTube channel, Ross. Shoot it to me so I
Yep.
can share
Yep.
it out. Um it's good to see you though. I took a break. As most people know, we've taken a break. It's been what, 2 months now?
For you and me. Yeah,
Yeah.
almost probably. Yeah,
Yeah.
we're
Well,
essentially taking the summer off.
yeah. Well, yeah, I decided to take the summer off, and because there have been some life changes and I wasn't ready to talk about them, but I'm so ready to talk about them now.
Are you
Go.
going to talk about them now? That would be so exciting for me.
Oh
Go.
yeah, yeah. So initially, what ended up happening was my partner and I decided to move in together to
Ooh.
see if we could cohabitate because I'm really hard to live with. And yeah, good person. I just want to say that, very good person. However, we just did not get along.
No kidding. What were the issues? I mean, was it toothbrush kind of thing?
Parenting issues,
Okay.
space, because I
Oh,
live in a 3 bedroom and he was coming in, three people and a dog were being added to my space. So I
whoa.
also have 2 cats, and the dog and my cats were not getting along. So it was a lot. And, unfortunately, it didn't work out. So I was only initially going to take off maybe a month and a half. And then it was like, well, now I've got to recover from not having all these people in my home.
Well, has
Yeah,
your relationship then suffered too?
it's over.
Is it?
It's over.
Oh,
No, I'm okay with it. Like I said, I'm funny because someone asked me the other day and I stopped and I said, I know where this is going. I knew that it was going to be
make a break?
drama and gossip.
Oh,
And I said, I'm not doing this.
good.
So I said, what is it that you want to know and why are you asking?
Mhm.
And they then hushed up and I said, look, this is all I'm going to say. He's a really good person. Very kind, very loving, very good to my children. We just had too many differences in opinion, and
Mhm.
it was not conducive to the life that I had already structured.
Mhm.
So
And yet, to be that know-it-all that jumps in, when we say differences in opinion, it's like unhealthy differences of opinion, not just like
um
the toothpaste,
I
but
don't want to say
just
unhealthy.
like
Like I said, I'm not
parenting.
going to trash this person, Ross.
No, 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 no,
So
no. And it's just, it's not that one person's doing something right, the other's doing something wrong.
unhealthy
You're
for
both
me.
doing something differently,
Unhealthy for
and it
me.
wasn't a good right.
With my I have a heart condition, and it didn't
Mhm.
seem to be a priority on their, you know, in
Mhm.
their radar, I guess you could say. And it was brought up many times, and I would say, this is the reason I'm in bed a lot. Like, I'm sitting on my bed right now.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So, again, I'm not going to say anything negative about them because they did so much for me while they were here. And we had an amazing friendship prior to becoming a couple. So I, we just
Mhm.
couldn't make it work.
Mhm.
So now
It's tough.
I'm,
Yeah,
it is tough.
relationships
And
are tough.
I mean, I've had my fair share because I am, who I am, and I've had really beautiful ones that ended amicably, but we were just going in different directions. And unfortunately, this one has just fizzled.
Mhm.
So, so I'm single. He's single. I hope he finds the right person for him.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's all I can say. I
You
really, really
and you too, and you too. Now, did and if you don't wanna answer it, that's fine. But
sure.
did you discover maybe that relationship isn't quite as important as you thought it needed to be? And I use
I
the word
didn't think being
needed.
in the relationship was okay. So my whole thing was I had been single for almost 5 years.
Mhm.
And I think not even being lonely because I have, what I need
Mhm.
in my life. I'm pretty complete.
Mhm.
I just genuinely cared for this person, and I thought this would be really nice to try.
Mhm.
Um Again, I just keep saying he's a really good person. I think what I discovered about me is that my boundaries are very high.
Mhm.
They're very like the walls are
Mhm.
here,
Mhm.
and not even just with him, maybe some friendships I've been asked to lower them, and I said I can't.
Mhm. Mhm.
I can't. This is where I am,
Yeah.
and this is where I'm staying.
Well, my question is more that we come into adulthood figuring that we need to have a relationship, that
Yeah,
it's
I'm gonna address that because I know where you're going with this.
okay.
And culturally,
Yeah.
I was groomed
Yep.
to find a husband.
Yeah.
But the way that it was presented to me was because I never found any importance in relationships. I wanted to be me, and I wanted to be me by myself. Or if I had a baby very young. I was 18 when I had my first child. He's 35 now. So I wanted to be with my son.
Mhm.
And that was my best friend and
Wow.
partner in
Yeah.
crime.
Yeah.
And I wanted to raise him. And I was always pushed into this wife role, and I was never a good wife. It's just
What
not
does
for
that
me. It's
mean?
it's not for me. I'm not a domestic.
Okay.
So um so I have many children. I have with my adopted kiddos, I have six.
Good
So,
lord. You're a hero.
and I have three grandkids, and I have three grandchildren. So but of all my children, four of them are mine biologically.
That's amazing. I can't imagine.
Thank you.
That's absolutely heroic.
I I think that, I was told many times, you're getting fat. And I would look and I would
What?
say, what? And I've always been, I mean, I'm
Who
Hispanic.
the hell are you
from
that?
many different
Who would
continents. Just
tell you that? Oh
my
my
own
God.
mother, my own
Oh
mother. You're getting fat.
no.
You're never gonna catch a husband. And I would sit there and go, why would I want to catch one? Like if I catch him and he doesn't want to stay, he can get away. This is what I used to think as a teenager.
My father
So
used to warn me about getting hippie, so I understand. Yeah.
hippie. And then I find nowadays that some people like that. Everybody has preferences. I didn't know. I was raised in a culture where you had to shut up, sit down, look pretty, and attract the right husband,
Mm.
hopefully one with money so that he can always
Mhm.
take care of you. Because my mother used to brag about being a kept woman. And I used to look at her and say, I don't, not me.
Not
I
for
want to go
you.
out and have friends and I want to go out and do stuff. Well, you have a baby now. And even though I was with the father, I was like, I'm going to take my baby with me. If I'm going out with
Mhm.
my friends, I'm going to say, if it's not someplace I can take him, I'm not going right now. I'll go later when we grow up, because I was growing up with him. I was 18. So,
Wow.
and I wasn't always a great mom. I took advice from everyone and didn't know what was
Mhm.
correct. So I like to think that I've evolved. I'm a much better mom. If I decided to have another relationship, I think I'd be a much better partner in that I do listen. And that was
Mhm.
always an issue. It was like I would sit down and say, okay, I need you to talk to me.
Mhm.
And there would be a lot of yelling. And I would sit there and go,
What?
I'm not going to yell at you. I'm not going to insult you. There were times when they wanted to argue in front of the children. And I would say, I'm not doing this.
Wow.
And I don't understand. I still don't understand why they thought it was okay. And even my daughter, my 12-year-old, would say, I don't want to be involved in this. I don't want to hear this. And she would get up and walk out of the room. And I would have to remind them, listen, I understand what you're doing. I understand that you want to practice conflict resolution in front of them. They don't need to know our problems.
Mhm.
They're going to have their own in the future. And all we're doing is giving them anxiety and making them
Mhm.
think about things that they don't need to think about for at least another 10, 15 years.
Mhm.
So difference of opinion in that. And maybe it works for them over there where they are. It
Mhm.
doesn't work for me. It doesn't work for my family. And I think that I really just need someone who's got boundaries like
Mhm.
mine. You know what?
Mhm.
Let's have the two castle keeps and we can communicate. I'll send you a raven and
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then
Yeah. Yeah.
you can send one back and maybe we can lower those drawbridges and come together when it's appropriate. But I have to be here.
Mhm.
And I remember one of my kiddos saying to him, if you're gonna commit to her, you have to commit to her boundaries.
Mhm.
And that
Wow.
was when
Which one was that?
Angelica, who else? The Scorpio.
Yeah.
My
But
Scorpio.
I could see Luna saying it too, even as a
Luna's whole
12-year-old.
thing was Luna really fell in love with this person too, and
Yeah.
immediately, dad, 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 and I really like that for
Whoa.
her because she
Yeah.
hasn't had a dad for 5 years.
Yeah.
Her dad left, and I think that she really just wanted to have that family dynamic, mom, dad, siblings, cat, dog,
Mhm.
and but she would say to me, I really love him. He's so good to me. And he was. I mean, there were things that she would say to me, and I would be like, these are all green flags, and I've never had that in a relationship. Well, that's not true. I've had others, but others where I didn't involve my children. So she would tell me things that he would say, and I would be like, he really said that? Like, that's so amazing. That's a good parent.
Mhm.
And then our dynamic was very different. And she started to recognize this, and she would come to me. She says, doesn't he know you're sick? So that's what I think really was the catalyst. Like she was recognizing the bad energy, I guess you could say, or the conflicts. And she would come and I would be laying down. I'm always in bed. I was sick for a while. I'm still recovering. And she'd come and lay down with me, and she would just like put her hand here because she says she can feel my heart and she can hear it speaking to her. So she puts it there and she's like, doesn't he know? Doesn't he listen to your heart like I do? And I would say, I don't know, babe. I don't know. I don't know how to answer that. That's not for you. It's for me and him to discuss. So that was that, Ross. I just figured I'd fill everybody in now because I was over the moon at first. You remember that? And I was so
Absolutely. You should
happy.
be.
Yeah.
Yeah, you should have been. Yeah.
He's a good person. And I really hope that he finds the person that is meant for him, the person that he can work with.
You remember when you, and I'll just keep it light, started some of the red flags and things that you'd have to overcome, and you just couldn't see that part happening.
Repeat that.
Remember I said that him saying that he broke up with you was kind of ripping the Band-Aid off. And now your wound is getting some air and it's healing.
But I wasn't heartbroken. I wasn't heartbroken in the ways that people might think.
Right.
I was sad because we're not even friends anymore.
Oh, really?
That's really hard.
Yeah, like I haven't heard from him. It's almost 2 weeks I haven't heard from him. And I worry, but I'm also not going to reach out. You walked out.
He did.
Yeah.
You walked out. Yeah. So
Okay.
you walked out, you made a choice, and you didn't even say goodbye.
Wow.
So I think if you want to talk to me, reach out. I'll always pick up the phone.
Mm-hmm. That's
Funny.
tough.
I just talked to one of my best friends. I spoke with him yesterday, and I said, I still care. He's a good person. I still care, and I really care about what happens to him and his family. And if he called, I'd pick up the phone. I wouldn't say anything mean. I wouldn't say, what do you want? I would just pick up the phone and say hi and see what happens from there. But I mean, if I get the yelling and the shade, then I'm going to be like, oh, why did you call? Did you call just to yell at me? I mean, so, I mean, I hope he knows this. Who knows? I don't know. I've been removed from social media, so I don't know, if we're just not friends. And that's what really is the saddest part of all this. We're not friends anymore.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Yeah.
And that's for somebody like me listening in who's been a mutual friend to both of you. That's the frustrating part, in that why can't we just go back to how it was? It's not like this was a long period where there was a lot of damage done. You tried it. It didn't work. Let's go back to what did.
There are other things that I won't talk about because they're very personal to us that were pretty damaging. But this is why I say I will not talk bad about this person. I will not trash him.
Good.
I won't damage his reputation because, we were both at fault. There was two sides. I'm not saying I was always right. And when I was wrong, I would apologize. He would always apologize when he was wrong. It's just our opinions and our views on certain things were so strong that we could never even agree to disagree. So I just, I wish him well. I'm sorry. I'm more sorry for my little girl because she's so self-aware with her autism and with all the other issues she's had, and her dad walking away from us 5 years ago, that she just sat there the other day and I said, are you okay? She's not crying though. That's what's funny. It's like she's accepted it. She says, I am. I'm just sad. And I said, do you want to talk about why you're sad? And she says, I didn't think that I was going to lose another dad so soon.
That's
and I said, so I wanted to cry. And I said, I am so sorry, Luna. I'm so sorry. I did this. And she says, no, Mom, you didn't do it alone. Again, so self-aware. For a child with autism, she's incredibly intuitive and aware of her surroundings. Her situational awareness is incredible. So she says, I just wish that he had been able to talk to you. And I said, me too.
That's why I said, when you said what Angelica had said earlier, do you see why I could have seen Luna saying the same thing?
So my girls are very much alike.
12-year-old, she's going on 40.
Angelica's 23. She'll be 23 in October, and Luna's 12, and they're very much alike. They're best friends. Angelica's only been here a year, not even a year and a half, and they feed off of each other. So they're able to grow in a way that's beneficial for both, because Luna has needed someone like Angelica to guide her. Even though she's got amazing siblings, my other children are wonderful people, and they've been great to her. They helped raise her. I basically call them her other parents. But this was another outsider's perspective that she required. And Angelica, even though she is very much mine, and she's our family, um, she still can see things from the outsider's point of view. And she would tell me, hey, maybe you could do this or that when it came to the relationship. Because she would hear us arguing, and I would go and I would apologize to her and to the other kid. I'm sorry that you heard that. That was not appropriate. We should have taken it outside of the house or into the other room. And, Angelica would come and say, maybe you were a little rough on him, because I don't yell. I just say things. And I said, you're right. I probably could have been a lot nicer. But then she would say to him, she's been through so much and she's not well. And she says, I've never seen her this sick, because there were times when I would just like be so amazed at the things I was being told that I would walk out of the room and I would go lay down. And one weekend,
Oh my goodness.
I actually said to her, I need to nap. I need you to come check on me in an hour. And she says, what? You've never asked me to check on you. I said, please just do it. That was how I felt. I felt completely drained. I felt like I could collapse. I went to my room, and an hour later she came in and she says, hey, I just wanted to see if you're okay. And I said, thanks for checking on me. And she told him, she says, I've never seen her like this. And maybe you could just recognize that this is hard on her too. It's not just hard on you moving from one place to someplace brand new and having to squeeze your family into a small space, but maybe you could remember that she's also making changes in her own world to fit you in. And every time there was an argument, I don't chase. I would sit and say, okay, I need you to talk to me. Tell me why you're angry with me so we can work this out. Because that's how I communicate. Ross, that's how I communicate. Let's talk about this. And if you don't want to talk, I'm going to step back. I'm going to wait. And if you never come back, I'm okay, because I did my best. Mm-hmm. And he just told her, he says, I didn't take it that seriously that she was sick. I took it for granted. And again, this has nothing to do with his character. I think he just didn't realize how it was affecting me, because most of the times we can only see from our own perspective and our own, from our own situation. So we're seeing things as like, I'm sitting here going, I'm sick, and I'm not taking into account that this person just packed up their whole family and moved here from another country.
Wow.
So, yeah. So, but I always try to, and like I said, I'm not perfect, but I did try to remember that, listen, they don't know anyone here. Their whole family is back there. And Angelica has been really, she's been great at, hey, maybe this is what happened. Cause she left her family to come move in here. She's my kid now, but she needed to move. She needed to have a space to heal. So right now she works, and she's in her room working remotely. So, for me, I've needed someone like that in my life, just to say, hey, this is how I'm seeing it. And then, of course, Luna, who is only 12, but she's been through so much. Her dad left us. Other family members don't speak to us. We don't speak to them. Mm-hmm. And Luna says, you're the one constant in my life. Mm-hmm. I said, yeah, but you have your siblings. She goes, yeah, but they all live other places. It's always just you and me. Mm-hmm. So I said, do you want it to always be just you and me? She goes, no, I want a family. So she wanted them here. And now she's sad again. And that's what's breaking my heart, that my 12-year-old daughter, who really enjoyed having a dad again, is heartbroken. And he hasn't reached out to her either. Ugh. I know. Again, maybe he's decided it's better this way, and to give a space. Maybe he's decided, because he's not her biological father, he hadn't adopted her. Maybe he decided that he could give her space. I don't know. I'm speculating, but I hope that he remembers that there's a little girl here who genuinely loves him.
That's tough. That's tough. That's tough. That's tough.
It is. So So I've needed the break.
And here you are.
I've needed the break. I'm not gonna lie, Ross. I really want to come back. I think I need some time for
You
me.
No,
do.
understood.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I need the
It was
time for me.
actually, for as much as a lot of it sucks, it was logistically a good thing on my end too, because Jane and I have a list this long of episodes that I still need to get out. And now this is 5 days a week. I want to be able to put you in a time after doing this that you and I are going to be productive with our show. So, yeah.
Well, we're working on other stuff too. You know, Luna's looking to start her own podcast.
Yeah.
And
How's the Sunday podcast going too?
we can't seem to get a handle on it because everyone's got different schedules. I think that
Yeah.
there's maybe one person that I can continuously do this with, but maybe bring other people to spotlight in place of the two other co-hosts. But I also don't want to take away from them. So we're
Right.
also looking for another platform where we can manage this because I'm not technologically savvy, and one of the others is. The two of the others are like, okay, well, we could do it here, but we really need to have a meeting. And, you know, we'll be at Creative Con. We're going to have a panel of podcast hosts who are on the spectrum. And then we'll be able to talk about this.
I love that.
Yeah,
I love that.
and the thing is, like, we're looking for really strong moderators for our audience because we want people to come in and ask questions. We're not looking for people to come in. I know a person with autism. Good for you. Now you know 5 more. But yeah, because I can't win every time it's mentioned and says, oh, Marcella, I didn't realize you were on the spectrum. You don't look like you're on the spectrum. And then I go, and then I have to bite my tongue because my initial response is, well, you don't look stupid, and yet here you are. And then there's I know someone with autism. I said, that's great. Now you know another person. I mean, really, come on. So we don't want people in the audience telling us their story. Well, I have a brother and I have a sister. That's fantastic. Go and host your own panel. We want people just to ask us specific questions. We're making a pamphlet that's going to dispel a lot of the myths of autism. And it's going to say question and answers only. So come in, ask your question about what it's like being a podcast host with autism, and then keep it going, because I have no tolerance. Tell him, Ross, I have no patience. It's like, shut the fuck up and keep it moving. Okay. So we actually have one already. Lois Villa is going to be one of our moderators. She'll be running around the audience with a mic. And then we will, you know, anybody who starts telling their story, shut this down now. Sorry, I'm not listening to this. I'm here to answer questions only. So that's what we're going to do. Luna's going to be part of the panel. She is, because she's starting her own show, and she wants. I'm thinking I might actually start it with her, just to get her rolling. But it's going to be about her. It's going to be about a 12-year-old who's on the spectrum, who wants to talk about what it's like for her to be on the spectrum, and then invite guests on, who they can just have a conversation between them. So I think that would be great.
That's awesome.
Very cool.
Yeah. Very good. Very good. What is it, above all, for that particular panel and that particular show? What do you want people to know?
What we want them to come away with?
Yeah. Okay.
Well, what the takeaway we want from that is that we're all on the same journey. Everybody who has a podcast is on the same path. They have a specific reason for having their podcast, their show. And that although we're not exactly like most people, we can still do this, but we do it in our own way. So we, you know, when we talk to people, sometimes some of us our minds just start to trail off. It's like, and it's not ADD or ADHD. We literally sometimes people will go on and on. And then I'm like, oh my God, I can't. This is triggering for me. Shut up. Go away. And then, no, I mean, listen, the podcast I worked on before this one, Ross, the host would just talk, and I would be sitting there like this. And then I would be like, I have a full day. I cannot be here all fucking day listening to you talk. Or he would want to ask a question.
Radio.
What?
Radio.
They'll bleep me out. So he would go on these tangents, and then I would realize he was telling a story because he wants to ask a question, but he needed to get his story out. And I would say, can you just shut up? Can you just ask your question? Like, why are we doing this? I thought I was going to be here half an hour, and now we're in 2 hours.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, because all of his questions required an explanation. And I would be like, oh my God, please don't do this to me. So I can't. And then sometimes I would like message him, I'm getting bored. Hey,
You said
can
that
you
to
just-
me.
I've said that to you.
That one, not bored, but I think we need to wrap up or something, some message like that.
Let's move this along. Hey, can we
One
wrap
of
this
the-
up? Yeah.
One of the guests is known for kind of dragging on, and that's why you had given me that heads up. But
I can't remember who
think-
that was, but I can only imagine with somebody I
don't
bought
wanna
on.
say anyway, in case they're listening.
It's
But,
okay. We could say, you could say
we
to me.
do. I do need to cut in one real quickly because we're at 5:59 p.m. in London, the 12:59 here in Atlanta.
It's been nice seeing you,
You too,
Marcella.
Jen.
It's good. And there are so many aspects to what you do and who you are that I want to know more about. So hopefully I'll see you again soon.
I'll come back.
Okay. I gotta
So
go.
Mirror Mondays
See you, Jane.
and both sides now, and
Agnes
that's a good
Dahl.
spot right there.
Yeah. Sounds good.
You can get Marcella, MARCC, 2 C's, 2 L's, Marcella.com. Also at Marcella_Palooza if you want to see her on Instagram. Studio B in Boyertown, Pennsylvania, Studio BBB, 3Bs.org. That's where you can reach Jane. And don't forget about Creative Con. We mentioned that a few moments ago. CreativeCon.com. That's CRE, the number 8, TIV con.com this coming February. And if you missed any of that, you need to ask for any help getting more, go to news, NEWZ at yergz.com and write us that way. Ladies, thank you.
Thank you.
Monday. Speaking
And
of
have
the
a-
day,
See you, Ross.
Have a great week.
we all need to get back to the rest of it.
You got it.
So
There we go.
there we go. All right, ladies, you've been on both sides now.
This
Up
is
the
Jane
middle.
Stahl.
Yes. And with Mars. We'll see you again next week. I'll see you all tomorrow. Thanks for
Sounds
joining.
good.